At St. James High School as the head coach, guided the Wildcats to the 2A state quarters in his first season after a successful stint as an assistant coach at Lutcher. St. James 5-4 overall against a very tough schedule, 4-2 in District A2A after downing Carver 47-14 for the third straight win this past weekend. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Dwain Jenkins at St. James.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. This is the second New Orleans Quarterback Club meeting that I've been in attendance for. Back in following the 2009 season, I was able to make an appearance with a young man that I coached who was honored as the Metro Player of the Year in Gavin Webster. And that's really where a lot of these opportunities that I have and the things that I've been able to do so far in my career as a football coach is really a tribute to some of the great kids that I've had the opportunity to coach. Just so we can get it out there, most of the times when I show up in places like this, a lot of times they ask me what team do I play for, not necessarily what team do I coach. I promise you I'm a little bit older than I look. This is my 14th year coaching in high school. I spent 12 years as an assistant at Lutcher, working with Tim Detillier, who just got his 250th career win this week. In 2002 I was a middle school coach. And then he quickly moved me up to varsity in 2003, where I was lucky enough to coach Gerard Landry. And we went on a run after losing the first 4 games of that season, and we ended up making it to the state championship game and winning the state title in 2003. And then after one of the first fires at Lutcher High School in the spring of 2006, I became the offensive coordinator, where we had a young man by the name of Rolando Melanson, who was on our defense, who led us. And then another young man that I was able to coach, Blaine Gauthier, who was our starting quarterback, who later became the New Orleans Bowl MVP at UL. He led us to a state championship in 2006. And then in 2008, also as offensive coordinator, Gavin Webster was a quarterback as a junior. He was later named Mr. Football in 2009, but there was a freshman on that team, Daniel Taylor, who's still playing at Northwestern. And then the sophomore on that team is the guy who became the household name, a kid by the name of Jarvis Landry, who's going on to start at LSU and scored his second professional touchdown yesterday for the Miami Dolphins. And he was just recently named the AFC Special Teams Player of the month of October. So really, I wouldn't be standing here without just the fortune to coach some pretty good kids over the last couple of years. And their ability is what landed me the job at St. James as the head coach. Many of you probably heard of St. James. In the 90s and 2000s, it was a dominant program under Coach Gailey, who's sitting over here to my left. And they last won a state championship in 1979, but under Coach Gailey, they made several trips to the Superdome. And they also were always a perennial power, somebody that you knew you had to face, no matter what classification you were, that would be a tough out. But that was a program that had fallen on some tough times over the last 2 years. When I took over, they were in the middle of a 21-game losing streak, hadn't won a game in 2 full seasons, hadn't won a playoff game since 2009, and hadn't had a winning regular season since 2008. I like to say that as soon as I got there, we were able to flip the switch and turn things around, but we extended that losing streak up to 25 before getting our first win last season after starting 0-4. But we really just continued to push on at that point. And our big thing was about setting the foundation for what the future of St. James football would be. And that was one thing we were able to get our seniors from last year to buy into, was to really just show up and work. And that was really our motto, our thing that we were going to talk about every day. We talked about going to work and just showing up. And that was something that I think that senior class did last year, that when everybody else was looking at it, maybe it was the same old when we were 0-4. And then maybe we got the win, but maybe you were supposed to be that team. But then in the playoffs, we went in at 4-6, and we went on the road in the first round and pulled an upset over Lake Arthur. And then the next week we got to play home, and what ended up being the last football game at the historic St. James High School site against Sterlington. And we were able to win in dramatic fashion and make it to the quarterfinals, where we traveled to Kinder, the eventual state champ, and lost the game 21-14, and we had the ball with a chance to score and tie it, and we just had a pass that was tipped and intercepted. So last year, we really just talked about establishing that work ethic and accountability, and our kids really bought in. We really had a great off-season. But I think what happened was at the end of last season, with those renewed expectations and people believing that the program was back, some of our kids just believed it would be easy once the season started. And this season started with a little bit more adversity. We were lucky enough that we've opened up a brand new stadium. It cost about $6 million to build at a new site, new field turf, 4,000 seat, state-of-the-art concession stands and everything else. And our first game in that stadium was on statewide television against our biggest rival, West St. John. And in the first half, we were quickly down 29-0. And that was the way we started the season. And that's the one thing that we can talk about, because it happened against Kinder and it happened several times last year. And this season, we've seen the same thing. The kids believe in what we're doing, and the kids continue to fight. And anybody who watched that third quarter, if you didn't turn the TV off, when we were down 29-0, we stormed back and took the lead 30-29 before the third quarter was over. We weren't able to hold on for the win, but it proved a lot to our kids on if we just continue to do things we're supposed to do and we work hard, that good things will happen for us. We've also had the privilege of playing against one of these guys that were listed on here, Kendall Bussing. A couple of weeks ago, that was our last loss. We played Newman. Newman jumped out to a 19-0 lead on us, and we scored with 1 minute and 41 seconds left to take the lead 30-25 before another guy who's been on that list many times before, Jay Tyler, even though he's not able to play with a broken hand, was able to make a play on special teams, returned a kick that set up a winning score for Newman, and they were able to score with under 30 seconds left in the game to beat us 31-30. So we are 5-4 with a win this week on Thursday night. It would assure us our first winning season since 2008, and it's something that our kids, our senior class this year, kind of took as their mantle. This is what they wanted to do. They wanted to put an end to that streak and get us to be a winning program again, not just settling for what happened in the quarterfinals. Just a little bit about this year's team. We do have a couple of guys that are getting a little bit of recognition. We have a senior defensive tackle who's been the unquestioned leader of our football team for 2 seasons, Jonte Jones. He's 6'1", 285 pounds, and he has a McNeese State offer. He'll have a chance to continue playing on the next level. We have a returning All-State linebacker, Quindus Staub, who last year was a sophomore, was first-team All-State. He recorded, he kind of burst on the scene last year as we made our run through the playoffs. He had a 24 tackle performance in the first round of the playoffs, and really kind of carried it on since then. We do have a newcomer that's burst on the scene over the last couple of weeks. Against South Blackman. We went down to South Blackman. He has the top receiving game in the state of Louisiana this year, Dantes Costley. He's a sophomore. It's his first year playing football. He didn't play last year. He was a track guy. He currently has 49 receptions for 903 yards and 14 touchdowns going into week 10. And then the guy who's our program's been built around is one of the things. I came in as a first-year head coach, a guy who's had the incredible luck of coaching some pretty good quarterbacks, and I had another one sitting right in front of me that many people didn't believe he was a quarterback, and we made him a quarterback from the first day we went on campus. And his name's Lowell Narcisse. He'll be a national recruit when his time at St. James is finished. He's in the class of 2017. That makes him a sophomore this year. He started 12 games last year as a freshman and threw for 2,013 yards and rushed for 637. Through 9 games this year, he's thrown for 2,412 yards and 23 touchdowns and rushed for 1,029 yards and 12 touchdowns. And just for the sake of keeping track, so far through his freshman and sophomore year, he's thrown 50 touchdown passes and rushed for 24. So he's on track to be one of the best that comes out of the state of Louisiana. Coach Gailey was fortunate enough to coach his older brother, Jarrell Narcisse, who went on to star at McNeese. And they're just tough kids, and he's been one of the leaders of our football team, and he'll continue to do things that gives us the opportunity to win games, not only the rest of this season, but going into the future. The other thing about our football team that I like to say is we've played some tough games. We have played against a tough schedule. We played against Riverside. I know Coach Stubbs spoke here the week that we played against them. Riverside has an excellent football team. They're loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. And we battled with them about as long as we probably could. We had it, they were leading us 28-20 with under 2 minutes to go in the first half, and we were driving for what we thought would be the score to tie the game. And we ended up getting some penalties and turning the ball over to them on downs. And before we saw the football again on offense, we were down 41-20, just to kind of show how explosive that football team is. So we're just hoping that we're going to peak at the right time. We were able to do that last year and play our best football in the playoffs. And we still don't believe that we played our best football yet this season. And we're looking forward to the playoffs and getting ready for that second season, because that's what our goal has always been. Even at halftime of the West St. John game, I've gotten asked many times, what did you talk about at halftime? We just talked about the season being in front of us. Nothing that happened in the first half or the first game of the season was going to prevent us from accomplishing the goals that we set in January, which was trying to find a way to play in December and make it back to New Orleans to play in the Superdome. So the only thing that we can do is focus on the future and keep working every day to get better. And that's the one thing we did in the second half against West St. John. That's the one thing we try to do each and every day we show up in practice. So with that, I'd like to thank y'all for inviting me. Again, I look forward to coming back hopefully many times throughout the future. And thank y'all.
Questions? How far is the new stadium from the old?
About 9 minutes. It's about 8 miles. It's located at the corner of Highway 20 and 3127, which, if you're familiar with that area, that's on the way to go to Thibodeau. But it's also where the majority of our population now lives, on the west bank of St. James Parish. Basically, where the school is, there really hasn't been any new building permits as far as residential. Everything along that river road has now become prime real estate for industries. And basically, there was a Chinese methane plant that's just purchased 1,000 acres that surrounds our campus. So we're anticipating over the next couple of months to really speed up the process of building the new school. And that was what was, when this new stadium was built, that land that was purchased, that was the intention. The parish government had just got finished doing a study on land use, and it was basically indicated that the area where the current school is was going to soon be surrounded by industry. So the school system took the initiative to purchase some property in a more residential area of the parish.
Where are you practicing right now?
We split time. We practice on the old field most days, but we do make an attempt, especially on weeks when we play home, to practice at least one day a week. The field is just now getting into shape that Coach Gailey used to love it, nice and brown, and the grass is short, and the dust is flying. It was one of the things that he always liked to do for the playoffs, and it's almost to that spot right now. We're going to actually give it a couple of days off this week. We're going to go practice at the new stadium both today, and then we'll practice tomorrow morning because we're off of school for election day. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.